ahead and then do what I need to do. Okay, now let's move on with the next thing that we have. The next thing is, I was looking through the folder. We have the authentication section, which I think it does not really belong here. Okay, this is a context. Wow, so it should not be inside here. What we have here was, well, I auto-generated all this code, so everything should be in its rightful place. And the other thing I've been struggling with is maintaining proper case. So if you notice here is small case, and I got into that conflict when I came to the components UI. You will notice that the components UI are all small letter. This is coming from Shard UI. I don't know if it's a thing. I've been used to creating my component like this. Just of a sudden, I see this guy is doing it lowercase. So I'm not a first, what I call it now. I'm not React, person first, but kind of strange saying it like this. And these guys have been doing this for like quite a number of years, so they must know one or two things that we don't know. Like I said, this is how I've been doing my own stuff. I don't know why they just broke the whole thing, but that's fine. Just needed to highlight that, and it's kind of now making me rethink what I'm doing. That's why I did something like this here, since we're all talking about components here. And the idea of components is, since you can easily reuse anything that it has to be UI anyway, that you can easily reuse, you put them inside the section. Now, enough talk, let's go and start seeing the task that we need to do, because that's the idea of the whole thing. But we're still going to be doing a whole lot of talk, because apart from the fact that we are assigning tasks, we need to understand the task we are doing. It's not just to say, hey, you do this, hey, you do that. You need to understand the flow of what is happening. So we are going straight to this part for business owner, because that's the onboarding. So this is like a sign up thing, right? So you have like the register. There are going to be two parts to registration, but we are focusing on first sign up. And if you look at the flow here, the folder for it is called sign up here. So it has all these things. There are supposed to be two kind of signups. Like I mentioned, there's the business sign up, and then there's the employee sign up. When the employee, it's not necessarily called sign up, but I just use the sign up word. The main terminology for it is called onboarding. So, but I just put that sign up there because onboarding was even sounding so long. So the sign up just happens to be fit for it. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. If you click on this, you have this page. Now this page has like crazy things going on for it, like crazy stuff going on for it, and I will try as much as possible to break it down. We have a lot of crazy components that we've gone ahead to implement. I will try as much as possible to break it down, and that's also talking to attention to details. Please, you need to take much attention, pay attention to details, and you see what I mean by that. So I'm going to zoom this out so that, because I really need you to see what is happening on this page. First of all, we've created a component which is called stepper. Yeah, I'm aware that most of these components exist in the web, but there are some kind of effect that I will want to see. I want to maintain such kind of effect. Another thing is sometimes some components might be too heavy for you to work with. If you can just do it yourself, you can just go and do it. But if you can not, please just go ahead and get help and get the job done. So for me, it doesn't take me much time to get, wrap things up and then create what we need to do. So first of all, we have our first component, which is called stepper. Now, the idea of this page is that you are registering as a business owner, and then you are filling your details, right? So the person is, we have 4 steps. The first step is, and this is not the flow. We are explaining the flow of the project now. So this is no more example. This is the real deal. So now this is the business detail of the person, and these forms might change. Like I might just decide that, oh, include this field in this form. Oh, we want to capture phone number. So just for you to have at the back of your mind, even though we have design like this, things can change. Now you have these 4 sections. If you, like I said, the UI is not really, I've not enforced anything. There's no validation, there's no form submission. Those are the logic thing that the front-end user is going to worry about. My own part is just to design the UI and make it easier for you to flow. Now, if you move to the next thing, which is this other part, this is the section I've worked with. I've taken my time to work on, you can see the navigational thing that I did mention of. That is working. That part is working. So you move to the next module that you want to implement. You can pick module, and if, of course, you know the drill. If they try to move next and they've not filled this, you should not allow them. They cannot also move empty-handed. They have to pick something. So these are just demo data, right? And there's no code validation or anything. This part is now setting the admin of the person that will be using the administrative account, right? So that part needs to be filled. This is this, that. Of course, you need to do password verification, or maybe decide not to even collect password in the first place, because you need to make it that they remember their password easily. So these are the UI UX thing that I'm talking about. The UI UX is not just designing a fancy interface, it's also being in the user's head. You want to make it in such a way that, oh, I've provided my details. You asking for password here, by the time they verify, they might, when they get to the login page, they might even forget, oh, what was my password save, right? So password might not be necessary here. We don't need to provide password. Like I said, this one was just a way for me to demo the precise way that the whole thing will look like. Now the task has started though. So we've started assigning tasks. Let me go back to our code now to start assigning tasks. So this is now for a front end. I don't want to, I'll just say FE at the end of every task are assigned. So I can just call this business detail page. And because of time, I will not assign all the tasks here live. I will go back and then give the task. I'll write it down easily so that we can actually follow. So there's tasks to be achieved from each of the page. For example, we've highlighted that in the admin page, which is role for FE. What should happen there is that, so I'm putting this checkbox so that once it is done, it can easily be flagged. So this one, okay, there's no need for dash again once there's a checkbox thing there. So the idea of this one is that no need to require, okay, remove password. So this is like how your task will come to you, you know, in explanation like this. Okay, so let's move on and then show you what I think I want to capture. Okay, so the next part is the OTP section where you kind of, you know, you are done. And that's the to verify that this your email is correct, because we don't want you to go into the system without making sure that you have a valid email. By the time you get here, you must have checked your mail and then the mail is available. Now, the backend person, guess what? You need to send an instruction. Once you get here, you need to send a notice from this part to the backend so that the backend will trigger a mail and it will send a mail to the person's inbox. So we'll get into that later. But I'm sure we're understanding our task now, what to do. So there should be an endpoint. So I can come here now. Okay, yeah. So send a post request to, I don't need to be saying backend. I'll just say to / I don't know what to call it now. Verify email, right? So that's what you are doing as a front end. because you have to send the request, the post request. Then the backend person needs to make sure that the mail gets delivered, and then yeah, that's that part. We'll set up mail testing server so that you guys can start using to test mail and what have you. Okay, now once that one is done, once you click finish, this finish here, those are the UI decision. There should be another page which is that you are done. So after verification, once you enter it, you verify, it goes to the next page, and the next page should be for to set up your password, right? So I'll show you how to do all those things, because it's not every time that I might design the entire UI. I might just lead the way, like as I've done now. I've led the way for you to start working on the system, and if you need to add one more page to it, you just need to look at the code and then do what you need to do. Now I wanted to talk about things that I added to the system that are like, serious. The fine detail I've put into action. Number one, once you are in mobile mode, I pay attention to mobile mode. There's a change. Now I have this stuff here. I know it's pretty small. I'll just make it very wide for us to see. It's kind of, I don't know how I can demonstrate it here. So there's a section here. This shows every time. But another way I can demonstrate is that once you are scrolling, let me go to the page that is kind of long. So once you are scrolling, the thing has spoiled. Okay, so that thing has actually removed. So this was supposed to be fixed. That's interesting. This thing has formed my handle. So let me see what happened. So that guy is supposed to be fixed actually. There is a lot of office lem here. I'm searching by office lem. That's the wrong stuff to search from. I said I was not going to write code this night. I don't want to write code this night. But let's see how it goes. Okay, I'm still going to explain these codes to you guys so that you'll be able to find your way around the system. Okay, so we are here. I'm actually looking for the sign up business onboarding. Yes, I'm looking for the login guy. I'm looking for this logo. Let me just hack it this way. Okay, this is what I've been looking for since. So this guy is supposed to remain on top at all time. It was not supposed to follow me like this. Yeah, I wanted to demo something, but the guy just formed my hand right now. I'm trying to see where it is. So this is it here, fixed on top. Okay, this is one thing that is messing up with it, but this one was done with mobile in mind, because I'm also making, but you don't need to worry about mobile. I will worry about that one myself. So let me see what's happening. We are supposed to have this guy fixed on top. Yep, this guy is supposed to be fixed on top, but for some reason he's actually following me. Like, I don't know why. Okay, this is the entire thing. Okay, so let me redo some. Let me check something. because what I wanted to demonstrate is actually banking on the fact that it needs to be fixed on top to demonstrate that part. Let me check it like so. Okay, to save time, we are going to demonstrate it in another form. So I'm going to leave that like that. But it's kind of funny because it's working. I'm going to leave it like that. So let me demonstrate what I want to demonstrate. What I wanted to demonstrate is what I did is called circular progress bar. So I'm going to make the circular progress bar visible because it was supposed to only be visible when you scroll and when you scroll past this. And while this one is on top, it's supposed to show on the right hand side. The circular progress bar is supposed to show on the right hand side. So that gives you, especially for mobile, that gives you a visibility of what's going on. So just like this, once it is on mobile, you are supposed to have that circular effect there. Let me enable that circular effect because it's hidden here. And this is not it. This is here. So it's hidden. And I want to override that right now. I didn't test the code. The guy said it's not coming up again. Okay, so it's coming up now, but it's hiding again. There's a condition, but I've removed all the condition necessary for it to behave like that. Okay, let's just maintain it while it's like this. Okay, so let me leave it like this and show you what is happening there. So this is a component that is supposed to show based on the way the user is using the system. Like what I mean based on the user is using the system in terms of if they are in a mobile view or maybe they scroll past the page, and this is supposed to always stay at the top. This works with this other part of the page. I'm sure you are seeing what is happening is continuing with what is happening. So I was able to achieve this using context. So let me know if you want me to explain context, or I should just go ahead, please. Let me know. Okay, so let me undo what I've done. Because there's no time, I won't be able to fix the bug that I've seen. There's a bug there that we need to fix that will allow that guy to stay on top. I did some code changes and I'm sure it has affected the entire system. I did some code changes. Okay, let's move on to the next part. So let's go to the backend. That's all what I have for front end. Let me explain the front end code and then we can move to the backend, like what I've written in the front end. So I will make this side very big so that you can see what is happening here. So I have a new page which is called layout, and by now you should know why I use layout. Layout is used in such a way that because I want so many things to be grouped inside it, I want to reuse that style, to put so many things inside. That's why I use layout. I don't want to repeat myself in many places. That's major reason why I use layout like so. And you should also by now know the pattern of how a layout in their interface like so. So this is the interface like so. The index means that once you come to sign up business like this, you can do this one, and maybe you can, the idea was that I want to be able to do this step 1, right? You can then do step 2, step 3. That's the idea. But as I was in the middle of designing the onboarding thing, another concept came, and that concept is the context thing. And the reason why that concept, you know, came to be was because of that thing I showed you just now on the right hand side, that bar. This header is fixed, you know, it's a fixed header, and the contents here, they are different, and each of the buttons are unique to the page, and I want this button to be able to control what is happening up there. So you want a child element to send an information, to propagate information upward, which is generally opposite thing that React does. React always treats things from the top to the bottom. It doesn't do it the other way around, and that's why you have context. That was the major reason React has context. Now this is the onboard page. Now the onboard page has all the modules. This is the step 1 business, step 2 module, step 3 admin, step 4 verification. These are just their own pages, and the reason why those pages are there is because I want to use the next kind of a thing. You don't have to use this process to move to the next page. You could just call the page directly. Remember, the reason why I did this is such that I can pass pass what's it called now, the page that I'm in, not necessarily the page number, because there's a place where I specify that, hey, this is the total page that I want, and this is the current page that I am, and that's the context thing we're talking about. So this is the context onboarding. The context also uses hook sometimes, right, to be able to keep states of what's going on. So I use this method to set total steps. So the information is already available here. I'm just subscribing to it using the function and displaying the information that is necessary. Now the stepper needs, you know, this information. It needs the current page that you are and then the total. And you can get the information from what? The context here. Okay, so you will say, and this is how I move. So if the first step is 1, go here. If it's 2, go here, like that. Each of this page, I don't need to provide their individual button. I just have another place to navigate each of them, and I can move each buttons the way I want. And I can also check which step I am to make button show or not to make button show. It's all free for you to decide how you want those buttons to do, and you can decide on what you are doing. You can even altogether remove the button here and put it inside here. Now you ask me, why did I not put the button individually in where we need it? The reason why I put the button outside is because of the view that I want. Now notice this view. The view is that this guy is on the top, fixed to the top, not necessarily fixed. If we scroll, we'll see that it will overlap. So if it's a scrollable content, it's just gonna move. The thing is working now. This guy is not serious. So the fixed is working now, but let me check one thing, and I didn't change anything. There's one particular thing I want to even change. It's not the onboarding, the layout, this one here. This thing gives it, yeah, this is what I want to actually do. So this is what I was trying to demonstrate. Now, as it is now, for example, if you try scroll, automatically you will notice that the pagination thing comes up, like the page, the number of where you are. That's the detail I'm trying to talk about. And as you scroll and you fill the form, if you go to next, it will show you the next thing, and you go ahead and you keep clicking the form, it shows you next. And this is also what you get when you're using a mobile device. Like when it's a mobile view, you also have that approach. So you can notice that it stays stick to the top. So if you go backward, so this is what I was trying to even explain the first time, and the thing just refused to respond to me for unknown reason. So as long as you're in a mobile form, that is the example of what you get. However, you don't need to put the dash thing. This gives you an idea of the level you are in. And the design sense of what I'm doing is that we're going to be using this also in employee onboarding. So it's very important that you understand the design decision and the methodology of what we're doing. So, and this is not really, they are independent. Once you see the components, you can reuse anyhow you want. So if you come here, it follows. So if you now enter like a detailed view, like a tablet view, it has room so it can show everything. Of course, if you are more in the desktop mode, it gives you more visibility study. But once you scroll past because it's not fixed, this is not fixed. So it's not going to be a good design if it's fixed. So it scrolls across, but it leaves this one on top. I'm just still wondering why it did not, why it messed me up the first time. Why it's because I really spent some time on it. Okay, so let's go back to the code and explain what we're trying to do. Yeah, I was explaining the decision we made to not put this button close to the form. The idea is to maintain consistency. This one is on top, the form is in the middle. You can just hit here and then you move on like that. In this case, this might be different, or you can still just you can remove this one and just add only previous and put this one here. Of course, this can be routed here or will be removed here, because most times this guy, just need to do this and move on. So this can be removed here and put to the next page. So let me show you how easy it is to manipulate this page. Let's play with it. So let me put both of them side by side so that you can see what is going on, and as we make updates, how the changes get to affect what it is you are doing. Now this part here is the context, which I think you guys already understand. This is the tool, and we're already defining the step at once. Now let me go back, let me take you guys a little bit back. Remember I said that we have different options of setting this thing up. You could literally just create a simple page, 4 different pages, and call them manually. But what do you think we're going to do? We're going to create this stepper 4 times. On the first page, you're going to put it there. You're going to repeat yourself. On the second stage, you're going to say 2 or 4. On the third page, you're going to say 3 or 4. On the fourth page, you're going to say 4 or 4. But guess what? On this page, we only put it once. You only see this once, and that is it. Now, we were able to achieve this because of what? Because of the layout thing. Layout was 1. Number 2 was also through context. We're able to achieve that through that methodology as well. Okay, now if we go to, of course, you can override this and say, let's say 5. It doesn't change anything. It just added the 5 thing there. Of course, our code is going to be wrong because this is now not dynamic anymore. You are now manually changing it. So, buddy, you ask me, so where do you go and set all these things? That's from this use onboarding stuff. That's the context. This is how the context was created. Now, I did explain what context is used for. It's allow you to pass information downward, or rather, bubble up information from down up and up down. Information can be sent throughout the component using this method. So this is where we specify more like an object, so to say. This is where you are making use of the context, and this is where we are creating the provider. So this is the format of creating context. You have a provider and the children comes in. So this is the use case. Now we are doing use onboarding, and when we are doing that, we are providing it will automatically bubble up all this information. Now you ask me where it is we have all those sets. This is where we set the whole thing here. So we set total 4. So if we set 5, it will automatically extend to 5. So wherever we are doing our stepper, we're going to update it there. We have our stepper used inside here, and we can now add what we need to do here. Okay, so I think it's going to be 5 eventually. So we talked about the fact that we verify, and then we now set password. So that becomes 5. And guess what happens to our circular guy? That's our circular progress bar. It also automatically changes to 5 because it's also subscribing to the context. It's also doing that as well. So where is that one? That's on, in fact, that one is on top of everything. This is here, circular progress bar. This one is even before we start entering the whole thing. So this one is way closer to the logo. That's why this one is happening. But we are all, using this guy. Notice that in this page, we are not calling set step. We're not setting step here. We're just fetching the information. We're just fetching the information that we need. Okay. Now, that's the logic behind what is going on there. So going back to this last explanation, remember I said that the idea was to do something like this before, where we have parts. We'll have parts and say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But if I do it like this, it means inside step 1, I will create stepper and I will write all the whole process. Inside step 2, guess what? I will create stepper again. Step 4, I will create stepper. Step 5, I will create stepper. And if I do it like this, I won't be able to manage that circular progress bar on the top. I will have to now start using another method to be pushing data upward and what have you. So this was the best method to implement this. So technically, we might not need layouts. We might not need layouts, but I'll still leave it like this. This is fine. So maybe we want to do something like this that says parts is equal to finish or something. If you want to do something like that, or you still maintain, let this guy still handle all the whole thing, it's still fine. It can still handle everything. Finish. But if you want to separate it and have its own page, because when you are done, you might not want to display this again when you are done, so you can properly put it in its own page. So let's move on to, I think, can we touch backend now? Yeah, let's go to backend. Don't forget, I will put all your rows, but you can start. You don't need to wait for me to start documenting this before you start, guys. So go ahead and start doing what you need to do. Now let's go to the backend. That backend is very, very interesting. Now, at least now you've heard one or two things that I would say we wanted to do, and that is ability for you to send mail. That should be your number one stuff. All the data we are building here, at the point where you are, I'm still thinking about if we want to, I think we should keep the data. Don't send it until you are done. You can then send everything with the verify email, and when the email is verified, you can save it. So the process in terms of the decision, I can document the decision and say that's the only time you need to reach the backend. When this gets to you, verify email. When you get the post request to do, when you get this post request, Okay, when you get this post request, you are not even doing anything. Okay, you're not doing anything. I just send email. Okay, send mail to send OTP mail to the recipient. Huh. Spelling no go kill me. Recipient. So send the mail to the recipient. Then there's another section again. That's set password. That set password should flag completed, because there's so those endpoints, we need to identify what are the actions that are coming in from the backend or from the front end to the backend. So at the point of verifying the OTP, you set your password. There are two tasks that will be done. I'm trying to make sure that we have one single call that will do both things, and that's what happened if you set password before. Okay, so we have set password, then we have create account. So this will work together, but most times you don't want to make one endpoint do two things. So you can just call it create account. In the process of creating account, in the process you also set password, which makes sense because as part of the data for creating account, it involved the username and password that was set. So you are going to send these post requests. So this is a post request carrying the user info payload. Like all this information now that has been loaded here is going to be sent here, right, to you to deal with. So you're going to send those data to him. Now this is where the communication is important. All your data, you don't need to wait for the front end to design his own interface before you do your own thing. In fact, the backend person is supposed to be the one to make the data available or the endpoints available. If the endpoint is available, the backend will just go and know what to use for his own fields. You know that all these fields are very important for us. So let's even look for this one. Since this one is a post, send a post request to this person. So let's do this one. This is which role? This AC. This AC for AC to handle. So here, this also AC. So you're supposed to create a post request for this. So now let's go ahead and do a dummy stuff for this one. And then, because I'm trying to set up how you guys will be working together, so you can see this synergy. And for the front end person, you can just do something dummy and be waiting for the data, or be waiting for the endpoints. If you don't have the endpoints yet, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't, do something. You can go ahead and do what you need to do. Now let's go to the back end and see how we're going to implement what we need to implement. So if I go to main, now we've seen this before. I'm sure by now you must have been tired of seeing this. So this is the auth guy. This is where we're going to put it. This is a valid place for us to put what we need to put. I think these two things are working. This one, we've not done this one at all. Then we need to do our verify email, and we call this one verify email or verify email by sending OTP. I don't know if that's too long. So I don't know if that's too long or short. Now let's see. This is the place we're adding this guy. This is API authentication. You know, that's what we're doing. You can see that we've not implemented this one. We just left it like that. And by the way, I don't know how long you've been with us to understand that we use AI a lot. However, please, AI generates error a lot, so it's very important that you also are aware of that. Don't rely solely on it. Don't rely solely on it. It just makes you generate your code faster. So verify. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let it write a function for me, even though it doesn't know the context of what I'm trying to do. I just wanted to just do a dummy stuff for us. Write a function. It doesn't even know the mail system we're using. We've not even set up the mail platform. So what we're going to do is that we're not going to send the mail. We're going to send out the OTP. Normally, you are not receiving, it's not returning anything, right? It's a function, or it's an endpoint that will not return anything, but we can just return it for the purpose of this demo. Even for the time being that the email is not available. Whenever you send a verified email by sending OTP, it should just generate an OTP and return. And what that means is that it's going to save it somewhere in the database so that it can actually use it later. It's not just that you're verifying it. When you want to sign up the person, you should also check if the OTP is still correct to move on. So those logic are things that AC will worry about. To do this, and also do a Swagger documentation. Right now I don't want to worry about how it's going to do it, because I just want to get this out and then we'll move on. We're going to make some corrections based on whatever it is that it tries to generate. Okay, so first of all, let's start from the top. Verify email by sending OTP. This can send a one-time password giving email for verification. So first thing is that it needs to create okay, this is the response that it responds, and payload is very important. The payload is what it's coming to the user. So what is coming from the front end. So what is coming to the front end should be, I'm trying to think about it now, because what is coming from the front end is from here. When you filled this form and say your name is this, of course we're going to remove the password, and it comes to next step. What we need is the email of the person. So another thing I think we should use is also, because you can also use, you can use the email. So for now, we'll just be simple and say it's a string. So this is very important, guys. This, you have to read through what's going on here. I've also told you guys to go and read Swagger documentation, how it works. So each word is very important. Now this one says that the payload is in the body of the API, but I want the they call it send OTP. Okay, that's fine. So I want it to be in a parameter. So the body should be in URL. No. Okay, let's make it like this. Let's do this one. because if we put URL parameter, I was thinking I wanted to do it like this, or you can say email. And again, because we might want to post or we might want to send more than one data. So let's use this method. So send OTP requests. Inside it is going to contain our email. Later on, we can determine other things that we want to pass across, because you might want to also know the other parameter that you're using to send the email, that you're using to create the OTP. You might want to use other parameter to do that. And this guy must be existing. Definitely it's not existing, so you have to create this. And OTP response, this is new. This is not what we've been using. Let me check what we've been using. Okay, so what we decide to say is that we are actually specifying what it is that we want. We don't want to create a generic return. We want to, whatever we return is what we return. So I think I can return a normally I don't even know what to return right now, but let me just leave it like this. OTP response. Okay, so we have this one. So we don't have these two things, they are not in the system, but these three things are already available. Now you can see the type of errors that you can ever get. Well, designed by the system, you can either get 400, 404, or this, email not found. Do we need email to be found? Yes. Do you need email to be found before you can generate OTP? No, because the idea is that you are not trying to retrieve a password. When you are trying to retrieve a password is when you worry about this one. You are trying to just make sure that the person's email is correct, and then you move on with your life. So let me go ahead and let me even rename this thing to this, and then copy the endpoint to that. Okay, we still have not created this guy. We're coming now. Okay, now this is time to create this one. Remember, I think I explained this should ban to you guys, so you should know that one by now. Let's go and create this one. It's in DTO. We come to DTO. I can put inside employee, or you can just put inside auth.go. So anything you want to declare for auth.go that relates to authentication can just be there. So I think type struct. We have so for now we are doing email. There's this requirement that, okay, let me just do email string JSON. So what that means is that in your data that you are sending from the front end, when you are creating it, your field should be like this, email. That's the idea of what this one is trying to do. Why are you complaining? I beg, I can't shout. Okay, so the next thing is so this will be a good place to start adding other things, like if you are interested in the company name, okay, like if you're interested in, if you want to do anything with it, that's on you. Okay, I think we resolved that. We'll be using this instead of the underscore, so we should have like a common front of how we should be naming stuff. So that's if you are using this, but we'll just leave it to this one for now. So that clears this one, that clears only this one, and that automatically makes this valid, because when you are generating your code documentation for the front end to use, if you do not do this, it won't be able to know the structure of this to use, right? The same thing with what we are returning. For now, I'm just going to return simple, that everything is okay, everything is well. So we can just say type response. Let me just say code. That's the OTP code though. Just for you to see and then type and use for your demo. That's not what's going to be happening. So we also have that one defined. So this one is already there by default. We will not get this error. At no point will we get this error. The only error we'll get is invalid request, which if you try to bind nonsense to themselves. Okay, so let's see, check if email exists in the system. We don't need to check any system to see if email exists. We're just sending OTP directly. So we're not checking this one. So this one fixed for this one. So this generating OTP, we don't have a function like this. So let's create that function. So if I go to, so it's using utility. We have one utility stuff here. I can just tell it to create this function for me. So you can see the idea of the AI, where it will be useful in things like this. Yeah, so string up is only numbers, so I can't read though. Okay, digits. So why is it tying it to a 6 digits? So of the OTP. So it should be yeah. Okay, so now that is set. We're good on that. I don't want to, what the heaven, why is it so long? Just to do a random let must be positive. Okay, it's trying to make sure that you don't do any nonsense. But instead of this, is that not why we have that? Is that not why we have this? So what this guy is trying to say? Let me leave you. I know you want me to convert you to int by force. So if you have this one, then we can never have this, I guess. Then you can then do I length length. So what's your problem here now? Okay, so everywhere I've used this length, I have to change it to this. I don't know. I don't know if it's correct. So let's move on. So we come here and say generate OTP. Suddenly it's not working. Let's see why it's not working. Okay, so the reason why it's not working is that this returns two things. Will it ever have error? Will this code ever generate error? Like seriously? Because where is the error they specify? Nil. Okay. So this is only time it will get an error. So this is one of the challenge you have with Go. Not challenge per se. Go always wants you to treat error. However, because there's an error here, you don't want to discard it. You can actually as in okay, let's treat the error. So how do we treat the error? We'll treat the error from here. You also get the error back, but this guy is defined already. Which one is first? String is first, error is second. Let me get it. So this error is already defined here. The cause wahala. OTP. Okay. But this is already created here. That's why. Okay, do you need me to create it again from the beginning? Or you're still going to shout now? Oh, okay. So it was created but was never used. So let's use it now. Okay, so if this, we go to this. So this one will majorly internal server error. So this is where you want to just dump the error because that one is beyond us. Okay, so we've treated this part. Now store the OTP in cache with it. We don't need to store the OTP. We just use the OTP. We're not. This is where we are supposed to send the mail. Okay, yeah, this is the sending of the mail. So we're not doing this now. We have a different stuff. Let me just say send mail, and just say to do. So the response is that we just respond only with the code. And the code is OTP. You can build this one to house other things later. Okay, I think we've done some things here. Let's go ahead and test. Please make sure that you use your tests place here. It's very easy to test with what I'm using here, http.rest. Very, very easy to test with it. Very easy to test with it. So this is our local system. You can simply just do, you have to also read about this one to see how the stuff works. An extension on VS Code. So just go and read about it. Just like Postman. So you declare variable. I have variable. I can declare variable. If I can save my cookie or my token from what happens here, and I can reuse it within my code. So we'll still see that along the line as we continue in what we are doing. We're almost rounding up now. So the endpoint you are calling is verify email. Is this supposed to be verify email or wait? Oh, you guys are not correcting me. So you are sending two endpoints. Oh, let me see. That's a good one. Send a post request to. Now there's a point here. Send a check for email. this is, and this is after you have captured the admin user info. So immediately you click next, guess what? You should send an email. So that there should be an endpoint. So the endpoint should be, of course, we're still working on here. Now we then they still need to do so we'll say send OTP. So we're missing this one. And when you send OTP, you need to save the OTP in database. That's where this verify email will come to match with what we are doing. Okay. So I'm still gonna sit down and draft this thing out for you guys, so you can get it. Let me go to the UI so that we'll talk from the UI. At this point where the user has, filled their form, when they click next, what happens is that you send OTP to the person. Now that sending of OTP, that's not what you are doing it. You are kind of sending OTP with the intention to create the person's account. Yeah. Sending OTP intention to create the OTP account. So here you have payload that carry the person's information actually. You have the name and then you have the email. Then when you are verifying, now it's becoming clearer now. When you are verifying, you also send the payload that carries the email and the OTP the person enters. So when you send OTP, these endpoints might change. The name we call the endpoint might change. But the idea is that from this part, you send the OTP, you are sending name. Honestly, we don't even need the name. You just send this so that we know that this is the person we are sending to. This is a post request. And then when we find ourselves in the next page, we know the email we sent to. We're expecting the person to actually verify that. So for us to, once we verify, it will call this endpoint to make sure that that information matches with the OTP that has been sent. So going back to the code, that part that I said that we will not need database connection, we actually do need, because this part would have been done already. So I'm going to the API. And I'm going to do something interesting. So I'm going to tell it to do the 2 for me. I hope it's going to do with Swagger documentation, because I did not tell it Swagger. I hope it will do both. But we're just only going to call one. It was at the point of when I want to call it now, and I realized that so this is send OTP, which is the first thing, and the sending OTP comes with whatever. Let me just look at it. So I don't know why they keep using 6, but I think 6 is too much. Then this send OTP via email, right? We're returning the OTP. So this one is to send OTP. Now, while it's sending OTP, we need to create it in the database to remember the OTP we send across to the email, because we need to verify the email. So to do, you also need to save the OTP and the email into the DB. So that needs to be done. So when we are verifying, so it has created a DTO for us to verify, which we need to go and check. So once we are verifying, you need to validate OTP against stored value and entry. So that's in the database, and which we are not going to do. And then once it's verified, it can tell us either true or not. You can throw a hard error. Like when I mean hard error, you can just say that just say something like this, and you are returning not found. Where is not found? Not. Yes. So not found means that OTP does not exist. So that can be 404, error 404, which is not included. Invalid. Okay, so invalid or expired token. Yes, good. So this can be 401 and 404, or you can just maintain 401 for both as this, but you return different message. This one is based on one message. This one is based on another message. So this can be a conditional check. If it doesn't see it, do this, and then if it does sees it, you can just return okay. So this is a way to just return okay. You don't have to return any data, but the fact that the guy see data, make him thank God. So you don't have to return any data. Does it take nil? Yes, it also takes nils. Okay, so let's fix the verify OTP token. What are the requirements that we need to get that one up and running? So we need the email and also the token. That's OTP itself, because you are trying to verify something from the the front end. So your data should come in, the email and the OTP should go in. Then when you want to send for the first time, you just need your email. Then this is the response for OTP response. So let's go ahead and do some check-ins. The guy has changed the nomenclature that will call these things for us. Let's look at what we call this one. Okay, you just say verify OTP, which is better. Then what did we call the? Okay, just makes it simple now. Verify OTP. Then we have send OTP. Good. So now let's test these two endpoints. If we come here, I was talking to how to use this stuff. So first of all, we need to send OTP. You put the method here. If it was get, you put your get. If you have data that you are posting, which is example, we are posting data, you put your data here. If you try and run this, for example, now it gives you, it worked, but this is not supposed to work. But let's check what's going on. It worked. It's not supposed to work because this is not the data that's supposed to send, and that says a lot. Let's check so that you see what's happening. So if you put this one here, and we'll be minimizing this, not be using the full screen. Now let's look at this send OTP and see what is happening. Now it's actually doing is actually checking the binding operation. It's not implementing, it's not restricting, or it's not enforcing binding arguments. It just gives us the OTP. So let me check what's going on. I'm going to be deleting quite a lot of view because right now I can't keep track of where I am. I'm trying to track what is 192.168.90. Okay, so let me try and use strong words for it. When I mean strong words, there are things that we can emphasize on that you should use, and that way it makes it more stricter. So let me add those things to it. So that it doesn't just allow anything to come in from the user. So look at what I've done. I've added binding and also make sure that it's an email address. So most times when you are creating parameter, you are requesting parameter from the front end, you are supposed to enforce these rules to make it in such a way that, you know, they can't just put anything. Of course, if we were making use of the value that was coming inside here, we are going to see some pushback in terms of if you check against the database. Of course, if it's equal to something, it's going to maybe not work, right? So, but because we're not doing anything with the data that we've gotten, that's why we didn't see any issue. But let me see what happened here, because it's supposed to actually abort. Let me call it again without changing anything. Okay, but I want to actually remove this condition we put here. I just added a new code, and the code I added was to terminate if any funny business occur here. So let me see what's happening. So let's give it a try again. I will just give it a call. Okay, that the termination did not help our case because it did not use, it didn't worry about this. It didn't put any strict measures. So it's very important that you use this strict measure to make sure that whatever was passed was what we have. Okay, so putting those strict measures in place, we are able to now say, hey, try and execute this, and this is what we get. Now this is on you, the backend person, to make sure that your endpoint is foolproof, right? It's okay. So that anything that is, you know, you need to, is on you to make sure that you've tested all these parts. Okay, so the email, of course, if you put the email, it shouldn't still allow it to go. Shouldn't it not disturb us? Okay, maybe it's not a thing. Let's send it without the proper email. Okay, it's still saying field should be an email kind of a field. So these are level of detail that you need to get to the system, you know, to make sure that at least doing your own due diligence. So if we have James at Gmail, if it's not a valid email, it will still keep giving error until you put a valid email. So it's even making your, you know, your application bulletproof to some point. Now that you have this code generated, by the way, this is not what we are sending to the user. It's just a way that you can still be testing without sending an email. But you should know that you are going to save your request to the database. That's why I said save, OTP and email to the table. So once this has been done, then send it via mail. Of course, we'll return it. Well, we are now doing the verification. Let me now come to the other part. So verification is also done this way. So let me put this one in proper title and call it send OTP. This is not testo. This is not testo. There's still test section that we've not talked about, but let's take it step by step. Now this one is going to be verify OTP and verify OTP. So what we are putting is two things. Again, we are going to also be strict. Please, anything that you're exposing to the client, to the server, must be strict. Must be strict. Make strict and required. Although it's not all field that will be required. Like when you are trying to create the form that they will fill now, all these things here. Let me show you an example or the details. When all this form, they will be sent to you eventually, and when it gets to you, it's not everything that will be required to, So while I'm making things required, is because normally they are supposed to be required. So if this is not supposed to be required, you don't need to add the required parameter to it, right? So you should also read about this binding stuff for parameter passing in your application. Now that we have it as parameter, we have it as binding. If you try to submit verify OTP without your OTP endpoint, guess what? This is the error that awaits the front-end person. The key, this guy, field validation for OTP fail on the required tag. So immediately you put your OTP, let's say this is the OTP, it will start behaving. So you say this is the error that will send code 400 message. This is OTP does not exist. That's we're trying to play with system sending error message up and down. That was here. That's what we're trying to do here. And we didn't abort. I think that's why we have this messy stuff. We're supposed to actually abort the information. So you can abort like this. C is the context. C is the context. So of course you wrap this around your if condition, and if your if does not happen, it will go ahead and then deliver judgment. That's why you see that it still deliver null here, because even though you spill out a status, now you spill out two status. You spill out bad request, you also spill out this. So whenever you do what you do, you need to clean up the work properly. So if we go and do this again, it should now give us, now it's giving us serious error. So I think we have an issue. Let me comment out this and see what happens. Because of course we're supposed to wrap this guy inside a safe space, but we're just trying to demo stuff. Okay, so this is what happened now. You can see that bad request. So let's say for some reason this didn't happen, but we're able to complete everything and we are good to go. If we test this one now, we should have that we are okay. Of course we're returning nil, but the thing is that you are watching out for error. You're watching out for 200 as a front-end person. You're watching out for that, the fact that the thing is not giving error. Now that you've written your code, you want to push it to the back-end person or front-end person. How do you do that? Pay attention, please. Pay attention in this part. So to do it, we have our make guy. Just go to your terminal. This is your terminal here, and then you do make gen. I guess that's what we call it. So once you I laugh in French. So this is that's already giving us error. Okay. Now it's good that we are seeing this error. Now this error occur because we defined something that we use in our Swagger, but we didn't create it. Very important. So, and you can see that it has spotted them. Now it said it couldn't find verify OTP response. We didn't define it in our entire code. So that's this one here, verify OTP response. So it means when it is successful, it's not about the fact that we didn't return it. It's the fact that we say, because that's two things. If you return it, fine, because that's what it wants to see when we are successful. In fact, let me just put it there first of all as what we return. So instead of nil, I'll put it like this and pass data to it. So let me do it this way. Just call it rs, and I'll just say status. Okay, then I'll just return rs. So I can go and create this guy. All these things I'm creating is just for you to see what is happening. So you can see that we have OTP response. I don't think this one is, well, I'll just put it there, Sha. Type, because I know one of them is obsolete. So we have I called it something now. I think status and string. And what should the person see? Status. Now it should work. Let's go ahead. We'll repeat the same thing and do make gen. So everything works fine. You can see that no error. We are good to go. Now your new code, now, and you are done with your job. Backend guy, you can go and sleep. You are done with your job. Another thing is you can also send your documentation across. Like, okay, if you've done something, let people be aware. The person that is expecting the backend should know that, you know, that thing has been done. That information will be available in the shared directory for everybody to see. So this is the shared directory or project here. So I want to, the one we just finished doing now, that's what I want to open. So everything will be generated, and you can easily see it because they are the one that you've not saved. Notice there's authentication service, and you will see the 3 things that we just added, or 4 things. This. You should be used to this now because we've used this in mobile for Asset Gear Mobile, right? So all these things, the new one that was just done is this part. Send OTP to email. So post send OTP. This is what you are consuming, right? And then this is just the services that you need to consume. The other thing that it did as well was to also create new model. All these ones are new. It's created them and things like that. The funny thing is that when there's a new change, it doesn't delete anything. The generated code does not delete, you know, stuff. But a way to make sure it's refresh everything, there's no way. Maybe I will see a way to fix it. Let me explain what I mean. So if we are not using any code again, the code just stay there. It doesn't delete until maybe you come and delete it yourself. Like all this code now. I think everything here are generated automatically. Everything now automatically generated. Let me check. All of them, they are automatically. Everything here. Nothing should be manually edited. Nothing should be manually done here. Apart from this one, No, this one too is even automatically generated. I didn't write this one. No. Who has time to be doing this one? So if I now, maybe we deleted some things, we recreated new things, we changed some new stuff, you can just randomly delete everything like this, and guess what? We can regenerate everything again. Make gen, and it will generate all the whole, you can see everything came back again. So the one that should have gone will go. If we, let's say we delete a method or an object that we don't need. But the good thing about this guy is that it will only generate model that you used in your code. Like this one now, if you didn't use it ever in your code like this, it will not send this to the generated folder. So that's it, guys. I will be open for questions. Shoot your questions.